In the vast silence between stars, a single voice cried out not in conquest, but in desperation. That voice, born of a fragile world, made of crystal and light, reached across the void to a planet shrouded in chaos and storm. What came in response would change the galaxy forever. The sky above Elaris Prime burned with weapon fire. Captain Kalar watched from the colony's main tower as another building collapsed under the pirates' attack. His thin, crystal-like fingers trembled as he pressed them against the viewing glass. "Status report," he said. His voice calmed despite the fear in his large, silver eyes. "The outer shield is at 12%, Captain," reported Lieutenant Naira, her light blue skin pulsing with distress patterns. "We have lost contact with the southern district. The miners there." She did not finish. Trell nodded. The luminary people were peaceful. Their bodies evolved to absorb and process starlight were more like living crystals than flesh. They were diplomats and traders, not warriors, and now they were dying. "The Void Hunters will not stop until they have taken everything," Trell said. "How many of our people remain?" "Just over 4,000, Captain. Most are gathered in the central caverns." Trell made his decision. "Prepare the deep space transmitter." Lieutenant Nira looked up sharply. "Captain, the Coalition laws are clear. We cannot broadcast an open distress call. The signal could reach. Anyone is better than no one," Trell replied. "Send the call on all frequencies 200 light-years away." Terra Nova's deep space monitoring station floated in orbit around Titanus. Inside the station's main control room, Communications Officer Ella Martinez stretched in her chair and sipped her coffee. The night shift was always quiet. Her monitor beeped. She sat up straight, suddenly alert. "Commander Reynolds," she called out. "I'm picking up something strange." Jack Reynolds, commander of the monitoring station, walked over. He was tall, with short gray hair and eyes that had seen 20 years of space service. "What kind of strange Martinez?" She pointed to her screen. "It's a signal using the universal mathematical sequence. But it's not coming from any human colony." Reynolds leaned closer. "Can you clean it up?" Martinez's fingers moved quickly over her console. The static cleared and a voice emerged, strange and musical, but the fear in it was unmistakable. "This is Captain Kalar of the Luminary Colony on Elaris Prime. We are under attack by Void Hunter forces. Our defenses are failing. We request immediate assistance from any vessels within range. We have 4,000 civilians, including many children. Please, help us." The message repeated. Reynolds and Martinez looked at each other. "It's real," Martinez said quietly. "First contact, and it's a cry for help." Reynolds straightened up, alert Admiral Renault now. 3 hours later, the command center of Terra Nova's United Defense Fleet headquarters was filled with military officers and government officials. Admiral Thomas Wilson, a broad-shouldered man with dark skin and a stern expression, stood before a holographic display showing the alien signal's origin. "We've confirmed it's approximately 90 light-years from our outermost colony," Wilson said. "Our linguists have analyzed the translation markers embedded in the signal. It's genuine. And you're proposing we respond?" asked Defense Secretary Patel, her expression doubtful. "We've barely established ourselves beyond our solar system." Wilson nodded. "That's exactly why we should respond. Humanity has debated for centuries what our first contact with aliens would be like. Now we know they're calling for help. These luminary could be anyone, General Brooks argued. And these Void Hunters sound dangerous. We don't know what we'd be walking into." Wilson pulled up another display. Our xenobiologists analyzed the voice patterns and what little biological data was included in the signal. The luminary appeared to be a photosynthetic crystalline species. Their world has about half of Terra Nova's gravity. They're not built for war. He looked around the room. Ladies and gentlemen, we've prepared for first contact for decades, but I don't think anyone expected it would be like this. We have a choice to make. Do we hide in our corner of the galaxy, or do we show what humanity stands for? The room was quiet. Then Secretary Patel spoke. What forces can we send? Wilson pulled up images of 3 ships. The UDF, Resolute, Dauntless, and Thunderchild. They're our newest vessels already on patrol at the edge of our territory. With their FTL drives running at full capacity, they could reach Alaris Prime in 12 days. And if it's a trap, asked General Brooks. Then we'll deal with it, Wilson said firmly. But I don't believe it is. That distress call was real. President Amari, who had been listening silently, finally spoke. Send the ships, Admiral. If we want to be part of a larger galactic community, we need to earn our place in it. On the bridge of the UDF, Resolute Commander Elias Rourke received his orders from Terra Nova. His ship, along with the Dauntless and Thunderchild, would make humanity's first official contact with an alien species. Plot a course for these coordinates, he told his navigation officer. Maximum FTL speed. Yes, sir, replied Lieutenant Arun Vega. At full power, we'll arrive in 12 days, 4 hours. Turner nodded and turned to his communications officer. Send a message to the Luminary colony. Tell them help is on the way. As the 3 human warships prepared to jump to faster than light speed, none of the crew fully understood what awaited them. They knew only that someone needed help and they were answering the call. Back on Alaris Prime, the situation grew worse. The Void Hunters had broken through the outer defenses. Captain Kalar helped evacuate another group of civilians to the underground shelters as explosions shook the ground. Captain Officer Lumi called out, "The communication center is picking up a response to our distress call." Trell's silver eyes widened. "From who?" "The Coalition." "No, Captain. It's from an unknown species. They call themselves humans. They say they're sending 3 ships." Hope flickered in Trell's heart. "How soon? 6 of their days, Captain." Trell looked at the frightened faces of his people. 6 days was a long time to hold out, but it was better than no hope at all. "We need to strengthen the inner defenses," he said. "We must survive until these humans arrive." What Trell didn't know, what none of the Luminary knew, was that their distress call had reached a species unlike any in the known galaxy. The humans came from a world the Luminary would consider a nightmare, a high-gravity planet filled with radiation, extreme weather, and countless predators. A world that had forced its inhabitants to become strong, resourceful, and surprisingly tough. In their desperation, the Luminary had called for help from anyone who would listen. They never expected that call would bring a fleet of Deathworlders to their rescue. 6 days later, when the Resolute, Dauntless, and Thunderchild dropped out of FTL speed at the edge of the Proxima system, the Void Hunters would learn what it meant to face the children of Terra Nova, and the galaxy would never be the same. The UDF Resolute dropped out of FTL speed at the edge of the Alaris system, followed closely by the Dauntless and Thunderchild. Commander Sam Turner stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main screen. "Scan complete," Commander reported Science Officer Dr. Kira Mendez. "We're picking up signs of a battle. The 4th planet shows multiple energy signatures and weapons fire." Turner nodded. "Bring us in closer, but stay alert. Communications try to reach the Luminary colony." Lieutenant Mara Chen worked at his station. Broadcasting on the frequency from their distress call, sir. The bridge crew waited tense and focused. This was humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and it was happening in the middle of a war zone. Sir, we're getting a response, Powell said suddenly. Audio and visual. On screen, Turner ordered. The main display flickered, then showed the face of a being unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It had a vaguely humanoid shape, but its skin was pale blue and seemed to glow from within. Its large silver eyes blinked rapidly, and its features were angular, almost crystalline. "This is Captain Kalar of Ilaris Prime Colony," the alien said, its voice musical but strained. "Are you the humans?" Turner stepped forward. "I am Commander Elias Rourke of the United Defense Fleet ship Resolute. We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance." Relief showed clearly on Trell's alien face. "Thank the stars. The Void Hunters have breached our inner defenses. We cannot hold out much longer. We're detecting multiple ships in orbit around your planet," Turner said. "Are those the attackers?" "Yes," Trell replied. "They seek our crystal mines and technology. My people are not warriors, Commander." We allowed him, and the image shook. "We need help now." Turner turned to his tactical officer. "Battle stations. Alert the Dauntless and Thunderchild. We're moving in." In the colony's command center, Captain Kalar stared at the screen in shock. The human ships were approaching rapidly. But what stunned him was the data his sensors were collecting. "Officer Lumi," he called. "Are these readings correct?" Lumi checked her instruments again. "Yes." "Captain, the human vessels register as Class 12 Deathworld ships. Their hull material contains metals that should be impossible to work with and their life support." She paused. "Captain, according to this, their atmosphere contains nitrogen-oxygen levels that would be toxic to most species." Another officer spoke up. "Their gravity readings suggest they evolved on a world nearly twice as heavy as our home planet." Trell felt a chill run through his crystalline body. In his desperation, he had called for help from creatures that came from a nightmare world. The stories about Deathworlders were mostly considered myths among the luminary. Tales of beings evolved in such hostile conditions that they developed incredible strength and endurance. "They're coming to help us," Trell reminded his officers. "That's what matters now." The 3 human ships moved into the Proxima system, their sensors tracking the pirate vessels. There were 7 Void Hunter ships, currently bombarding the surface of Ilaris Prime. "They're turning to face us," reported Lieutenant Clark from the navigation station. Turner studied the tactical display. "They outnumber us, but our ships are more advanced." Lieutenant Powell opened a channel to the lead pirate vessel. After a moment, the screen changed to show another alien. This one was reptilian with rough gray skin and yellow eyes with vertical pupils. "This is Commander Elias Rourke of Terra Nova's United Defense Fleet. You are attacking a civilian colony that has requested our help. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The reptilian alien hissed, showing sharp teeth. "Terra Nova. We know of no such world. This is not your business, stranger. The luminary colony is our prize." Turner's expression hardened. "I'm making it our business." "You have one chance to leave peacefully," the alien captain laughed. 3 ships against 7. You are brave but foolish." The connection cut off. "They're powering weapons, sir," the tactical officer reported. Turner nodded. "So be it. All ships engage the enemy. Protect the colony at all costs." On the lead Void Hunter ship, Captain Vorsk watched the approaching human vessels with contempt. "What kind of ships are they?" he asked his sensor officer. "Unknown design, Captain. They appear heavily armored, but they're smaller than ours. Their energy signatures are strange. Wait. The officer paused, his scales paling slightly. Captain, they're accelerating at 9 Gs. Drex's yellow eyes widened. That's impossible. No crew could survive such acceleration. They're launching fighters, another pirate reported, voice rising in alarm. Drex watched a small craft poured from the human ships, moving with impossible speed and agility. Target them now. In the lead fighter, Flight Lieutenant Talia Knox felt the familiar pressure as her craft accelerated. The synthetic gravity compensators could only do so much. Pilots still felt about 3 times Terra Nova's normal gravity during combat maneuvers. For humans, this was uncomfortable but manageable. For most other species in the galaxy, it would be crushing. Wolf Squadron, form up. She ordered over the comms. Target the lead ship's weapon systems. 12 human fighters swooped toward the largest pirate vessel, easily evading the sluggish defensive fire. Back on the colony surface, Captain Kalar and a small group of luminary officials gathered in an underground shelter, watching the battle through their remaining sensor network. I don't understand, said Elder Oren, the colony's senior leader. How can their ships move like that? The crew would be crushed. They come from a high-gravity world, Trell explained. The humans are different from any species we know. They watched as the human fighters danced around the pirate ships, their weapons slicing through shields that had easily withstood luminary defenses. The Deathworlders are real, whispered Lieutenant Naira, and they're fighting for us. On the Resolute's bridge, Commander Turner directed the battle with calm efficiency. Dauntless target, the second pirate ship. Thunderchild, provide cover for our fighters. Resolute will take on the lead vessel. The UDF ships moved with precision that shocked the Void Hunters. Human reflexes evolved to catch prey and avoid predators on Terra Nova, translated perfectly to space combat. Their tactical systems, designed to track threats in Terra Nova's complex ecosystems, had no trouble targeting the pirate vessels. Sir, we've disabled their lead ship's engines, reported the tactical officer. 2 of the smaller vessels are retreating. Turner nodded. Continue the attack. We need to end this quickly. In the colony shelter, the luminary watched in awe as the battle unfolded. 3 human ships were systematically dismantling a pirate fleet twice their size. They're coming to land, Lumi reported suddenly. A small craft from the human fleet is requesting permission to dock at our main bay. Trell straightened his crystal-like form. Tell them they are welcome. I will meet them personally. As he prepared to meet the humans, Trell wondered what these Deathworlders would be like up close. He had called for help and desperation. Now he was about to face beings from a world that would kill his kind in minutes. Yet they had come all this way to save his people. Perhaps Trell thought there was more to these Deathworlders than the fearsome stories suggested. The human shuttle landed in the Luminary Colony's main docking bay. Captain Kalar waited with a small welcoming party, all of them nervous about meeting these mysterious Deathworlders face to face. The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss. Commander Sam Turner stepped out first, followed by Science Officer Dr. Kira Mendez and Marine Captain Juno Harlow. To the luminary, the humans looked both familiar and strange. They walked on 2 legs and had 2 arms like many species, but their skin was solid and opaque, not translucent like the crystalline luminary. Most shocking was how easily they moved, as if the gravity that the luminary found comfortable wasn't even noticeable to them. Captain Kalar Commander Turner stepped forward and gave a small bow. Thank you for allowing us to land. Trell bowed in return, the light inside his crystalline body pulsing with a mix of emotions. Thank you for answering our call, Commander. Your timing is most fortunate. Dr. Kira Mendez was already scanning the area with a handheld device. Commander, the atmosphere here is breathable for us, but contains high levels of helium and lower oxygen than we're used to. Turner nodded. He had already noticed the slight lightness in his head from the different air mix. We'll manage. Officer Green. Captain Kalar gestured toward a doorway. Please follow me to our command center. We have much to discuss, and I fear the Void Hunters will not remain defeated for long. In orbit above Alaris Prime, the remaining pirate ships had pulled back to regroup. 4 of their vessels had been disabled or destroyed by the human fleet, with the rest suffering significant damage. On the bridge of his ship, Void Hunter Captain Vorsk seethed with rage. How he demanded of his tactical officer. How did 3 ships defeat us so quickly? The officer, nursing a wound from when he had been thrown across the bridge during the battle, shook his scaled head. Their reflexes and maneuverability exceed anything in our database, Captain. And their weapons technology. I don't want excuses. Drex slammed his clawed hand on a console. Contact our allies in the nearby systems. Tell them to bring everything they have. I will not be humiliated by some unknown species. His communications officer worked quickly. Messages sent, Captain. The nearest reinforcements are 10 hours away. Drex's yellow eyes narrowed. Good. Prepare all remaining weapons. We will strike again before their friends can arrive. In the colony's command center, Commander Turner studied the tactical displays showing the status of the battle. The human ships had performed exceptionally well, but they hadn't escaped unscathed. The Thunderchild took damage to her port side, Turner told Captain Kalar. And we've lost 4 fighters, but your colony is secure for now. Captain Walker, the Marine commander, joined them at the display. Sir, our sensors show the pirates regrouping at the edge of the system. I recommend we prepare for another attack. Trell's crystalline form dimmed slightly. More Void Hunters will come. They never attack alone. They have allies throughout this sector. Turner nodded. Then we need to strengthen your defenses immediately. He turned to Officer Green. Contact the Resolute. Have them send down engineering teams and defensive equipment. Green moved to comply, but paused as her scanner beeped urgently. Commander, I'm detecting multiple FTL signatures approaching the system. At least 5 ships, maybe more. Turner's expression hardened. Pirate reinforcements sooner than I expected. On the Resolute, Lieutenant Aaron Vega monitored the approaching ships. Entering the system now, sir. 8 vessels heavily armed. Acting Commander Riley, left in tight charge while Turner was on the surface, made a quick decision. Alert the Dauntless and Thunderchild. Recall all fighters. We need to form a defensive perimeter around the planet. The 3 human ships moved into position, preparing for the second wave of attackers. Below on the planet's surface, Turner received the update. 8 more ships, he told Trell. This is going to be a real fight. Trell's large silver eyes reflected the concern he felt. Commander, my people cannot ask you to sacrifice yourselves. For us, perhaps you should. We're not leaving, Turner interrupted firmly. On Terra Nova we have a saying, we don't abandon those who need help. Captain Walker stepped forward. Sir, permission to return to the Resolute. My Marines are needed for the space battle. Turner nodded. Granted, but I'm staying here to coordinate with the colony's defense systems. The second wave of pirate ships entered the Proxima system, joining forces with the remaining vessels from the first attack. Together they formed a fleet of 11 warships bearing down on the planet. Open a channel to all UDF ships. Ordered Acting Commander Riley on the Resolute. This is Riley. We are outnumbered but not outmatched. These pirates have never faced humans in combat before. Let's show them why Terra Nova creatures are called Deathworlders. Engage at will. The 3 human ships accelerated toward the oncoming pirate fleet. The pirates, expecting the humans to take a defensive position, were caught off guard by the aggressive maneuver. "They're charging us." Captain Vorsk couldn't believe what he was seeing. 3 ships against 11. His tactical officer looked equally shocked. "They're accelerating to attack speed again, Captain. 12 Gs this time. In the colony's command center." Commander Turner worked with the luminary to coordinate their remaining defenses. Elder Auron, the colony leader, watched in amazement as the human moved easily around the room despite the different gravity and atmosphere. "Your people possess remarkable adaptability, Commander," Varen observed. "You function well even in an environment not designed for you." Turner smiled briefly. "Terra Nova has many different environments, Elder. Humans had to learn to adapt to survive." He turned back to the tactical display. "Captain Kalar, if we integrate your energy grid with our shield technology, we can strengthen the colony's defenses against orbital bombardment." Trell's crystal in form brightened. "Our engineers can assist with that. We may be peaceful, but we understand energy systems well." In space, the battle had fully engaged. The human ships executed maneuvers that seemed impossible to the watching luminary. They spun-rolled and changed direction at speeds that would kill most species, relying on their reinforced hulls and the natural resilience of their human crews to withstand forces that would crush others. Captain Walker's Marines had boarded 2 of the pirate vessels, fighting hand-to-hand in the corridors. The pirates, used to intimidating physically weaker species, found themselves against opponents with nearly twice their strength and endurance. "Secure the engine room," Walker ordered her team as they pushed through the main pirate ship, "and watch your backs. These lizards are quick." A group of reptilian pirates ambushed them at a junction, firing energy weapons. 2 Marines were hit, but their armor absorbed most of the damage. Walker fired back, her weapon's recoil barely noticed by her Earth-strengthened muscles. "For Earth and Proxima," shouted one of her Marines as they charged forward, sending the pirates into a panicked retreat. Below on the planet's surface, Commander Turner and Captain Kalar watched the space battle through the command center's displays. "Your ships fight like nothing I've ever seen," Trell said, his voice filled with awe. "They move like they don't fear death." Turner shook his head. "We fear it like anyone else, Captain. We just refuse to let that fear control us." The displays showed 3 pirate ships, breaking off from the main battle, descending toward the planet. "They're coming to attack the colony directly," Trell said, alarm pulsing through his crystalline form. Turner remained calm. "They won't get through, not while we're here." He activated his communicator. "Resolute. 3 enemy ships on approach to the colony. Intercept if possible." The acknowledgement came back immediately. "Already on it, Commander." The luminary watched as one of the human ships broke away from the main battle to chase down the approaching pirates. They had never seen such determination, such willingness to fight against the odds. "The Deathworlders aren't monsters," Trell realized, speaking softly to Elder Auron. "They're protectors." Varen nodded, his ancient crystalline form glowing with a new understanding. "Perhaps this is why they evolved as they did. Not just to survive their harsh world, but to protect others who cannot protect themselves." Outside, the battle for Ilaris Prime raged on. But for the first time since the Void Hunters appeared, the luminary felt something they had almost forgotten: hope. 3 days after the Battle of Ilaris Prime, the human ships remained in orbit around the planet. The Void Hunters had been decisively defeated, with 7 of their ships destroyed, and the rest fleeing the system. On the planet's surface, human engineers worked alongside the luminary to rebuild damaged structures and improve the colony's defenses. Commander Elias Rourke stood in the colony's newly repaired communications center, speaking via holographic link to Admiral Renault back on Terra Nova. "The Luminary are recovering well," Admiral Turner reported. "Their casualties were significant, but could have been much worse without our intervention." Wilson nodded, his holographic image flickering slightly. "And what of the political situation? Have they explained their place in the galactic community?" "Yes, sir. They're part of something called the Galactic Coalition, a loose alliance of spacefaring civilizations. Most coalition species evolved on worlds with moderate gravity, stable climates, and minimal predators. Conditions very different from Terra Nova, which explains their reaction to us," Wilson said thoughtfully. Turner nodded. "They call us Deathworlders, sir. Apparently, planets like Terra Nova are considered extremely rare. Most intelligent life evolves in much more hospitable environments." Wilson's expression was serious. "What's the Coalition's official response to our presence?" "That's what I wanted to discuss, sir. The Luminary have been sending messages to Coalition headquarters since the battle. This morning we received word that they're sending a diplomatic delegation." "They'll be here tomorrow?" Wilson raised an eyebrow. "So soon? Interesting. Keep me informed, Commander. Terra Nova stands ready to establish formal relations with this coalition." As the Admiral's image disappeared, Captain Trail entered the room. The Luminary leader's crystalline form glowed brighter now that the immediate danger had passed. "Commander Turner, our sensors have detected the Coalition diplomatic vessel. They will arrive earlier than expected, within 6 hours." Turner nodded. "Thank you, Captain. I should prepare my officers for the meeting." Trail's silver eyes studied the human carefully. "Commander, there is something you should know. The Coalition has never encountered a Deathworld species before. Some members may be fearful of your capabilities. We come in peace, Captain. We only fought because your people needed help." "I know this." Trail said, his voice musical and sincere. "And I will speak for humanity at the Council, but others may need more convincing." The Coalition diplomatic ship was impressive, nearly twice the size of the Resolute, and elegantly designed. It settled into orbit around Ilaris Prime, and soon a shuttle descended to the colony's main docking bay. Commander Turner stood with Captain Trail and Elder Oron as the Coalition representatives disembarked. There were 5 different species represented: a tall, slender being with 4 arms and green skin, a floating creature that resembled a jellyfish, 2 reptilian beings similar to but more elegant than the Void Hunters, and a small, furry humanoid who appeared to be in charge. "Welcome to Ilaris Prime, Trail," said, bowing deeply. "I am Captain Trail, and this is Elder Varen of our colony. May I present Commander Elias Rourke of Terra Nova's United Defense Fleet." The furry humanoid stepped forward, eyeing Turner with obvious caution. "I am Chairperson Ran of the Galactic Coalition Security Council. We came as soon as we received reports of the battle." The translator made Ren's voice sound slightly mechanical but clear. Turner bowed respectfully. "On behalf of Terra Nova and humanity, I welcome the opportunity for dialogue." Ren's large eyes blinked rapidly. "You are the first Deathworlders we have encountered in the Coalition's 5,000-year history. Many believed worlds like yours could only produce aggressive, unstable species." Turner maintained his diplomatic composure. "We can be fierce when threatened or when others need protection, but humans value peace and cooperation above all." The 4-armed green being leaned forward, "Yet you crossed 100 light-years with warships to a star system you had never visited before." "We received a distress call," Turner replied simply. "On Terra Nova, we have a long tradition of helping those in need, regardless of who they are. In the colony's main conference room, the Coalition representatives reviewed recordings of the battle against the Void Hunters. They watched in silence as the human ships performed maneuvers that would kill most species, as human marines boarded enemy vessels and fought with strength that seemed impossible. Remarkable, murmured the jellyfish, like being its tentacles rippling. Their bodies withstand forces that would crush most sentient life. Chairperson Velis turned to Elder Auron. And you say they have been nothing but helpful since their arrival. Varen's ancient crystalline form pulsed with emotion. They saved my people, Chairperson. Without the humans, this colony would be destroyed. Our people enslaved, or worse. They have helped us rebuild, strengthen our defenses, and asked for nothing in return. Captain Trail added their medical officers, even developed treatments for our injured, despite our completely different biology. They are not the monsters of old tales, but protectors who answered our call when no one else would. Ren looked troubled. The Security Council will need to discuss this development carefully. A Deathworld species with advanced space travel changes the balance of power in the galaxy. Commander Turner, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. If I may, Chairperson, humanity doesn't seek to disrupt your coalition. We're explorers and builders, not conquerors. We responded to the luminary distress call because it was the right thing to do, not because we wanted to announce our presence to the galaxy with a show of force. Yet that is precisely what you have done, Commander, said one of the reptilian delegates. The Void Hunters are a significant power in this sector. By defeating them so thoroughly, you have sent a message to all spacefaring species. Turner hadn't considered this perspective. What message is that? That Terra Nova has entered the galactic stage. Chairperson Velis said simply, and that Deathworlders are not to be trifled with. News of the battle spread rapidly across nearby systems. On planets throughout the sector, beings of various species watched recordings of the human ships in combat, marveling at their capabilities. In the shadowy meeting chambers of the Void Hunter leadership, angry voices rose in debate. Their defeat at Alaris Prime was humiliating, but more concerning were the implications of a new power entering their territory. We should gather our full fleet and eliminate these humans before they spread. Further, argued one pirate leader, and the older battle-scarred captain shook his head. You didn't see them fight? I did. They move faster, think quicker, and fight harder than any species I've encountered in 200 cycles. Attacking them directly would be suicide. Similar discussions took place in the war rooms of various coalition military forces. Some advocated for containment or restrictions on human expansion, while others suggested forming alliances with the powerful newcomers. Back on Alaris Prime, Commander Turner received intelligence reports from the Resolute's communication array. Cornisu, seems we've made quite an impression, Captain Kalar, Turner said, showing the luminary leader the reports. Several pirate fleets have withdrawn from this sector entirely, and according to Coalition news channels, at least 3 worlds under threat from raiders have requested human protection. Trell's crystalline form flickered with amusement. You save one colony, and suddenly everyone wants Deathworlders for neighbors. Turner smiled. Admiral Renault just informed me that Terra Nova is sending a proper diplomatic team. Apparently we're to establish our first embassy here on Alaris Prime if you'll have us. We would be honored, Trell said sincerely. My people will never forget what humanity did for us. Outside the command center, human engineers worked alongside luminary technicians installing improved defense systems and helping repair the colony's infrastructure. What had begun as a desperate rescue mission was becoming something more, the first steps toward a lasting alliance between very different worlds. And throughout the galaxy, The story spread of how a peaceful race had sent a desperate call for help into the void, and how that call had been answered by creatures from a world of nightmares, creatures who turned out to be the greatest protectors the stars had ever seen. 6 months after the Battle of Alaris Prime, Terra Nova prepared to host representatives from 12 alien species for a historic event. The Grand Hall of the Terran Assembly headquarters in New York had been modified to accommodate beings from worlds with different atmospheric needs, gravity requirements, and body types. Admiral Thomas Wilson stood at the window watching as the alien ships descended through Terra Nova's atmosphere. Each vessel was escorted by human fighters, not as a show of force, but as an honor guard welcoming Terra Nova's new allies. Nervous Admiral asked Secretary Patel, joining him at the window. Wilson smiled slightly, a little. 6 months ago, we were alone in the universe as far as we knew. Now we're about to sign a treaty with beings from a dozen different worlds. All because we answered a distress call, Patel remarked. Sometimes the right thing to do is also the smart thing to do. In the preparation room adjacent to the main hall, Commander Sam Turner adjusted his formal uniform. He had been promoted after the events at Alaris Prime, and now served as Terra Nova's military liaison to the Coalition. Beside him stood Captain Lisa Walker, also wearing her dress uniform with new commendations. "Did you ever think we'd end up here when we first picked up that distress signal?" Walker asked. Turner shook his head. "Never. I just thought we were going to help someone in trouble." He paused. "Have you seen the Luminary delegation yet?" "They arrived an hour ago. Captain Kalar asked to see you before the ceremony." As if on cue, the door opened and Captain Kalar entered. The Luminary's crystalline form seemed to shine even brighter in Terra Nova's sunlight. Behind him came Elder Auron, moving slowly but with dignity. Commander Turner Trell said warmly, his translator converting his musical language to English. Or should I say Ambassador Turner? "Now." Turner smiled. "Sam is fine between friends, Captain." Trell approached carrying something in his hands. It was a crystal about the size of a human fist, glowing with inner light. "We brought a gift for Terra Nova," Trell explained. "This is a memorial crystal. It absorbs sunlight and projects the names of those who fought together at Alaris Prime, both human and luminary. It symbolizes how light can emerge from darkness and how different beings can stand together against common threats." Turner accepted the crystal carefully. "It's beautiful, thank you." Elder Auron stepped forward. "Your world is remarkable, Ambassador. Many of our people feared visiting a death world, but those who came have discovered its beauty as well as its harshness." Walker grinned. "You should see what the Geltorians thought of our oceans. They've been swimming for days, saying our deep-sea pressure is delightfully soothing." In the main hall, representatives from Terra Nova and 12 alien worlds gathered around a large, circular table. President Amari of Terra Nova stood to address the assembly. "Distinguished visitors, honored delegates, today marks a historic moment, not just for Terra Nova, but for all our worlds. 6 months ago, a distress call brought us together. Today, we formalize a bond that grew from that first contact." The president gestured to a document displayed on screens around the room. "The Mutual Defense Compact establishes protocols for responding to distress calls like the one that brought us together. It creates a joint rapid response fleet with ships from all our worlds, and it sets the foundation for cultural, scientific, and economic cooperation." Chairperson Velis of the Coalition rose next. The small, furry alien looked much more comfortable with humans now than during their first meeting. When the luminaries sent their distress call into space, none of us could have predicted where it would lead. The coalition has existed for 5,000 years, but we have never encountered a species quite like humans. Wren's large eyes swept the room. We once feared Deathworlders, imagining them as monsters evolved from nightmares. Instead, we found that the harsh conditions of Terra Nova forged not conquerors but guardians, beings whose strength and resilience make them uniquely suited to protect others. Captain Kalar was the next to speak. As the representative of the world that had first contacted Terra Nova, his words carried special weight. My people sent a desperate call into the void, never imagining it would reach a world like yours. We had no right to expect help, especially not from beings who evolved in conditions so different from our own. Yet you came, you fought for us, and you asked for nothing in return. Trell's crystalline form pulsed with emotion. In doing so, you showed us all what it truly means to be civilized, not just to be peaceful when possible, but to be fierce when necessary, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. One by one, the representatives signed the compact. As they did, news broadcasts carried the ceremony to worlds throughout the coalition and beyond. On dozens of planets, beings of different shapes, sizes, and biologies watched as a new alliance was formed. In deep space, the UDF Dauntless patrolled the border of what was now called the Protected Zone. The ship had been repaired and upgraded with luminary crystal technology, making its sensors more powerful and its engines more efficient. On its bridge stood Captain Ben Clark, formerly the navigation officer, now commanding his own vessel. Sir called his communications officer. We're receiving a message from Terra Nova. The compact has been signed. Clark nodded, acknowledged. And what about our new crew members? The luminary engineers have reported to their stations, and the Geltorian navigation team is ready. The coalition tactical officers are still adjusting to our gravity, but they say they'll be operational within the hour. Clark smiled. The Dauntless was the first ship in the new joint fleet, with a crew made up of beings from 6 different worlds. It wouldn't be easy integrating so many different species, but if anyone could do it, humans could. Adaptability was their greatest strength. Set course for the Rigel system, he ordered. We've received reports of pirate activity there. As the Dauntless entered FTL speed, a luminary engineer named Lumi worked in the engine room, her crystalline hands making adjustments to the new hybrid power systems. She had volunteered for this posting. Despite the challenges of living on a ship designed primarily for humans, is the gravity bothering you? Asked the human engineer working beside her. Lumi's form pulsed with what humans had come to recognize as laughter. A little, but my environment suit compensates for most of it. She made a final adjustment to the crystal matrix. Besides, if I'm going to help protect other worlds, I should learn to adapt just as you humans do. Throughout the ship, similar scenes played out as beings from different worlds learned to work together. None of them knew what challenges awaited in the vast expanse of the galaxy, but they faced the future with confidence. The Deathworlders of Terra Nova had found their place among the stars. Not as conquerors, not as monsters from nightmare worlds, but as protectors, guardians who answered the call when others needed help. And across the galaxy, worlds that once feared the very idea of Deathworlders now slept more peacefully, knowing that if danger threatened, if pirates or conquerors appeared in their skies, they could send a call for help, and the humans would come.